what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
And we are live. Greetings to our loyal WFYL listeners around the world. Welcome back to your Philadelphia live stream, only on the Freedom Station. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in once again, because you still have the right to hear and the right to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G. As always, with your Philly Chris Rust, the producer, going to have to take a rain check from Liberty Lee. And you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters. And you can listen to our program every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's be heard. I want to remind our listeners that you can participate in the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas throughout the entire week by visiting MikeGinthemorning.com. Where can they go, Philly Chris?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Do you know Russ?
No. I'm actually Mike G.
Of course you know.
MikeGinthemorning.com.
MikeGinthemorning.com. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mailman, tell your barber, tell your Uncle Jimmy, tell anybody who'll listen to check out MikeGinthemorning.com. You know, we had to reach out to the tech folks to try to make an adjustment on MikeGinthemorning.com for where they can see our previous episodes, because the tech overlords at a platform that shall remain unnamed have made this very difficult on us.
They're trying.
You know, we've always had those promotional postcards for the program, and people who come on out to my seminars usually take one of those with me, and hopefully they become a listener of the program. And that's how we've expanded the Mike G in the Morning family over the years. There's one part of that card that has a QR code where basically you can just take your phone, put it on the camera setting, scan that little QR code, and it'll bring you right to where you can listen to our previous episodes. Unfortunately, because of the tech overlords and the suppression of free speech,
Exactly.
You can't find us there anymore. So we're going to have to figure out what to do with that. The cards also have MikeGinthemorning.com plastered all over the place. So hopefully people are checking out MikeGinthemorning.com, not relying solely on that QR code. So just in case anybody was wondering, that's what's going on there. It's tough to be a freedom fighter these days, isn't it, Philly Chris?
Yeah, it's becoming more challenging every day, I think, Mike, but I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah. Didn't violate any rules. No rules whatsoever.
Well, they'll change them again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, you violated the rules before they were the rules. So those episodes have got to go.
You retroactively broke the rules.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind our listeners about the powerhouse lineup here at WFYL, the Freedom Station. We've got Ben Shapiro bringing you the Ben Shapiro Show weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. We've got Scott Adams with the Scott Adams Show weekdays from 9 a.m. until noon. Second Amendment advocate Dana Lash coming at you weekdays from noon right until Ben Shapiro. And brand new to the station, we've got Michael Knowles coming at you at 6 p.m. Check him out. So don't forget to tune in and show him some love. And with that, you know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Russ, why don't you hit that intro one more time? Give them another taste. I know they're all dying for it.
Yeah, I do like that intro. Let's see what we can do here.
It's pretty awesome, yeah.
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Nice.
You'll be seeing a lot more of that in the future.
That's right.
It sums up the show, doesn't it?
Pretty
I
much.
think that captures the essence of the program. Screeching off, right?
That's right. That's right.
Cannot be contained.
No, sir.
No roads, no speed limits, no
Mhm.
seat belts. That's what we're all about on this program.
Yep.
We had quite the week. I did a program earlier today
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. How'd that go?
and did a program with Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, which was an honor to do.
Mhm.
You know, obviously, he's been a Second Amendment advocate for quite some time, and really through his service, with his service, I wrote a report about him in the 5th grade.
That's cool. That's cool.
Much to the chagrin of my liberal teacher at the time. But yeah, did a report about him. I remember that, and very cool to be able to do a program with him. Also with Grant Stinchfield over at Newsmax, who I've done some stuff with previously. People are concerned about their gun rights in this country. They're concerned that under this administration, things are going to fly off the rails. We're going to see freedoms lost in the next few years that will not be able to be regained. Because once the government gets a hold of those freedoms, once they take those freedoms away, those freedoms that are supposed to be fundamental, inalienable rights enumerated in the Constitution and protected and guaranteed by that Constitution, don't ever let anybody tell you that the Constitution gives you rights or the government gives us rights. That's not the way it works. Our founding fathers' understanding was that there are certain rights that everybody is born with, certain fundamental, inalienable human rights that we're born with. They're God-given rights. And the Bill of Rights is in place to protect those rights from the government. Not to say, okay, you have this right here, you can, because if the government can give that right, what else can they do for you, Chris?
They can take it away.
That is true. That is correct. So don't ever get that confused. You know, it's good to see with the elections that took place in Pennsylvania how the people have taken a little bit of control back through allowing the legislature the ability to crush some of these executive orders. The king's decrees.
There we go. Right. The king has spoken.
brings the power back to the people. I think that the people didn't like that too much power was coming from one single solitary source in the governor, and that when the legislature tried to act to terminate these executive actions, ultimately got jammed up in the courts, and the courts said no. In order for this to take effect, even though the legislature's passed it, it's got to be approved by the governor. It's got to go on his desk just like any other law, and he's got to sign it. So fat chance of that happening, right?
Right.
Hey, governor, we want to put an end to the things that you've put into place and want to keep going. Will you please sign off on us doing that? Maybe I'm going to skip over on that one, right?
Maybe he can get Biden to sign it. He doesn't know what he's signing, so. What am I signing?
Oh, goodness. So that was good to see.
Yeah.
We did, speaking of Biden, in the gun world, we've got the nominee for the ATF. We testified.
Yeah, AFT, Mike.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So do we have a clip on that?
Yeah, you have that, Russ, right?
Yeah. I was just getting prepared while you guys bought me some time.
Thanks, man.
That's good. Well, if you've had enough time to prepare, why don't we listen to that? Talk about it a little bit.
Let me.
Yeah.
Woo. Let's grab this.
It's quite interesting. Yeah.
And we can hit play on this. I hope the sound works.
What's an assault weapon?
Yeah, Senator, the bill to ban assault weapons is
what is your
dozens of
definition of an
pages. There's
assault
no way I could define an assault weapon.
You don't have any. You're going to run this agency,
weapon
and
that
you don't have a
assaults.
definition of assault weapon.
But I would be enforcing the definition that members
Yeah,
of
but you're
Congress
going to be
passed.
issuing rules and regulations. Just give me your definition.
I'll give you one definition that ATF
Give me your
currently
definition.
uses. One definition that ATF currently
Give me your definition.
I can give you one definition.
If you
that
want to
ATF
answer my
currently
question, how can I vote for you? I'm done, Mr. Chairman. I don't think I'm going to get an answer.
You have called for an assault weapons ban. I have a simple question for you. What is an assault weapon?
Senator, an assault weapon would be, in the context of the question you asked, what Congress defines it as.
So you're asking us to ban assault weapons. We have to write legislation. Can you tell me what is an assault weapon? How would you define it if you were the head of the ATF? How have you defined it over the last several years as your role as a gun control advocate?
Senator, if I'm confirmed as ATF director, my recollection is the only process by which ATF has weighed in is that I know there's a Demand Letter 3 program, which requires multiple reports, multiple sale reports on the southwestern border. And ATF in that program has defined an assault rifle as any semi-automatic rifle capable of accepting a detachable magazine above the caliber of .22, which would include a .223, which is, largely the AR-15 round.
So you believe that every weapon that takes a detachable magazine that can take a .22 round or 5.56 in the military parlance should be defined as an assault weapon?
Let me clarify. What I believe I just said is any semi-automatic rifle.
Okay, any semi-automatic
rifle.
It's
got to be a rifle.
What?
That's the definition. A detachable magazine that takes a 5.56 or .22 round should be defined as an assault weapon.
Senator, you asked me if ATF had used this term, and I was sharing with you my knowledge of a program in which ATF has defined this term, and it is in the Demand Letter 3 program, and that rifle is a semi-automatic rifle capable of accepting a detachable magazine with a round greater than a .22 caliber, and in those cases, firearms dealers on the southwest border are required to make a multiple sale report to ATF.
I'm amazed that might be the definition of assault weapon. That would basically cover every single modern sporting rifle in America today. Let me put it this way. If I wanted to buy an assault weapon, and I walked into Walmart or Cabela's or some other firearm dealers, and I looked up on the wall where they were labeling their weapons, would there be a label on the wall for assault weapon?
I don't believe, Senator, and thank you for this question, that the firearms industry has used the term assault rifle in their marketing since there was a ban on it. It was after that they changed their use of the term assault rifle to the modern sporting rifle.
Well, so I've been in Walmarts and I've been in Cabela's, and I've seen that you can find sections for pistols or handguns or for shotguns or for rifles, because those are actual kinds of firearms. I think our exchange here illustrates that there really is no such thing as an assault weapon. That is a term that was manufactured by liberal lawyers and pollsters in Washington to try to scare the American people into believing that the government should confiscate weapons that are wildly popular for millions of Americans to defend themselves and their families and their homes.
Oh! One of our very first clips on YouTube is an excerpt from this program when we were talking about what is an assault weapon. I was asking the question. This comes from a couple of years ago, one of the early episodes of this program. Mm-hmm. And the point is, it's a bogus, made-up term.
Right.
Somebody tell me what is an assault weapon. You got different states that might have assault weapons bans, and they've all got different definitions.
Right.
Like in New Jersey, for example, a bayonet lug is an offending feature.
Yeah, right.
That counts towards whether it constitutes an assault firearm.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
A bayonet lug, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't mention that, right? He didn't mention ATF.
No. Even slingshots are felonies in Jersey, right?
I'd say that this gentleman looks like a cross between Alfred E. Newman and a chipmunk, but I'm not going to say that. That wouldn't be nice.
You definitely didn't say that out loud, no.
That wouldn't be nice, so I'm not going to say that.
Right.
Bottom line is that you can't have an intelligent conversation about quote-unquote assault weapons or assault rifles if you don't have a common definition, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
that
that's
seems
why we
fair.
have so many, that's why there are so many unintelligent discussions when it comes to the super scary assault weapons, the
Yes.
assaulty weapons, right?
Right.
Super scary looking, they're far too assaulty.
Yeah.
But that's why we don't have intelligent discussions.
They're
because
black and they're shooty, and I just can't handle it.
They're the black and shooty assault weapons. I like that.
As soon as you put a scope on the top of it, it's extra shooty. We gotta stop this. I can't. It's scary.
Don't forget the detachable magazine, the bayonet lug. You know, in New Jersey, one of the offending features is also the telescoping stock. So if you're gonna do the adjustable stock, because that's when they get really dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Fixed stock, then that's fine. You can't kill anybody with a fixed stock. You start being able to move that stock around, then you're in for all sorts of trouble.
All kinds of mayhem.
But you see why this could be a problem, having somebody like this in charge of one of these government agencies. These bureaucrats are unelected officials, and this is a guy who's been partisan throughout his career, hasn't he? I mean,
very much so, and he's talking.
Yeah, but well, he done work with gun control groups, from what I understand. You know, so it's not like gun owners are expected to get a fair shake from the ATF. As if it hasn't been difficult enough. With the ATF, we're talking about the agency that banned bump stocks by classifying a bump stock as a machine gun during the Trump administration.
Right. Right.
The stock
I remember.
was the machine gun. And if that were true, if their logic were correct, and we talked about this at length when it happened.
Logic? What?
What's that? There's no such thing as logic in these discussions, right?
Not anymore. No.
But if their reasoning were correct, or their alleged reasoning, can we call it that, Russ? Does that work? Alleged reasoning?
No, that's not allowed.
If you use their alleged reasoning, then a rubber band would become a machine gun. And a belt loop can be a machine gun.
Guys, a hammer is a machine gun, obviously.
Everything's a machine gun.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Just giving out machine guns like Oprah. You're a machine gun. You're a machine gun. Books are machine guns. You know, I wrote this. You know, I'm working on being an author, and I wrote this machine gun book. It's called "This Book Is a Machine Gun."
There we go.
Well, you could just sort of
Seuss
start
made
to
lots of
imagine all the things that would be automatically up for consideration if this guy gets in, right? If this guy takes over,
right?
What kinds of problems we could have instantaneously, because the ATF has been known over the years to go back and forth on its interpretations. And anything. Oh, you got Machine Gun Kelly?
There we go.
He's one of Liberty's favorites. He's too new for me. I don't know any of his music, but I believe he's one of Liberty's favorites.
Well, I just did a
when you
search
look
for...
at when you look at the ATF and you see the way they've gone back and forth on so many of these decisions, so many of these interpretations, and all the problems it has caused by them doing so, you got to think that as soon as somebody like this gets in, any favorable decision or slightly favorable, moderately favorable, anything that isn't completely unfavorable decision that we've seen over the last several years, it's going to be reversed, because they can do that like that, because they're not elected officials. They don't play by those same rules. And unless there's a court challenge, a challenge in court, and there's litigation over it, and we get a court order stating otherwise, they're going to have really unfettered authority to do what they want to do. And it really highlights the flaws in the system, if you ask me.
Yeah,
the fact that they've got so much power. They are not the legislature, and they've got so much power in formulating these interpretations, deciding how they want to enforce these laws. And we're going to see it with 80% unfinished receivers, right? I think we're going to see that right away. I think we're going to see decisions dealing with stabilizing braces. This is stuff that Biden came out and talked about already, you know?
Right. Right.
So at that point, if an unfinished 80% receiver is a firearm for their purposes, where does it stop?
Sure.
Where does it stop? Because there's no law against making your own firearm if you're eligible to do so, at least federally, right? Some states might have different laws about it. And we're not talking about anything that's covered under the National Firearms Act. Obviously, that's for an entirely different 2-hour-long discussion. But with these kits that are becoming fairly popular with the 80s, where's the line drawn? If you say, okay, 80 can't do it, that is a firearm, you got to get a background check. What about 79? What about 78? What about 70? What about 60? What about 50?
Right.
And what's zero? What's zero? Just a hunk of metal?
It's the raw ore.
Air.
Where does it stop?
Right.
Air, right?
Oh,
Where would
yeah.
it stop? So
They
we're
don't
gonna
stop.
This is going to certainly become a point of discussion over the next several months and years.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with this guy. That's not too reassuring to see that conversation that took place, is it?
No, it's pretty insane, really, to see that, you know. But that's where we are. You know, the whole country seems to be going that way right now. So I guess we shouldn't be shocked. But yeah, not good.
I
And they
mean,
have
if this is a guy who's been a part of gun control groups, anti-gun groups, that would be like somebody from the Trump administration, let's say being a part of the NRA, right, or something like that.
Sure.
Would that be the
Right.
equivalent, or Gun Owners America? Do you think the left would have the slightest bit of a problem with that?
Oh, of course not. No, they
might
would love that.
that be an issue for those
Right,
folks?
right. Yeah, yeah. They wouldn't point that out. No,
No.
no. Just let that one slide.
What are we gonna do?
Oh no. Keep on fighting.
I did see this story I wanted to bring up, talking about how guns save lives. What do we got here? No. So basically, in Utah, there was a kidnapping that was in process of taking place on school grounds, and ultimately, it was foiled by somebody who was armed.
No.
What do you think of that?
I think you can't say
It
that.
actually
Mike.
works, huh?
You can't say that. It's
Guns-
inconvenient to our narrative. Stop it.
Right, right, right. Yeah, it becomes an equalizer in those situations, and we see it every day. People have to use their firearms to protect themselves, especially now with the police being defunded and all that. You know,
Yeah.
nobody's coming to
So-
save you.
So I brought
Can't
up,
have that both ways, right?
Right, right, exactly. Good point.
Right.
Can't have that both ways. You want to defund the police, but nobody can protect themselves either.
Right.
But wait, what about the bad guys? And now there's no police to. So what are we?
You got to call that counseling hotline. They'll send a counselor out real quick to
Right.
talk the guy
This-
down. Yeah. Please give me your gun, sir.
This wasn't
just
well
go
thought
out and
at all.
pick the attacker some flowers.
Ron
put it in the
Burgundy,
barrel
I
of their
immediately
gun
regret
very
this
gently.
decision.
That's right. Right. Yeah, a lot of backwards thinking going on. Not a lot of logic.
This is the headline: Agent turned activist nominated by Biden could lead ATF to new era of cracking down on problem gun dealers.
Oh,
So the media says this is a good thing
now it's the gun
to
deal.
have an activist in office.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
As long as it's for their purpose.
As
Otherwise,
long
it's
as that's
inconvenient.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
There's minor caveat there.
Why not?
Pennsylvania's moving for constitutional carry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's
Fantastic.
moving forward. I think, like Dr. Val always talks about on this program, the main purpose of this, because I don't think there are any illusions that the governor is going to sign off on this.
I'm sure he's thrilled.
It's like, all right, the people have spoken.
Yeah.
Constitutional carry it is. I doubt it. But I think what it does show us is who is on our side, and it forces them to make a decision. So everybody who's listening to this program should be calling their local representatives and telling them, how they want them to vote and that they want them to act on this. And if they do not, then I think the photographs of these representatives who have let the gun owners down should be on the walls of every single gun store, gun range, and gun club in the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Maybe we could draw a little mustache on them or something like that, so they know we're not. So the people know we're not promoting them.
Right.
And maybe write their names underneath them in red or something like
We're
that.
not promoting them. We're
what do you think
promoting
of
the
that?
mustaches.
What do you think of this idea? If anybody is listening from a gun store, a gun range, or a gun club, write us in on social media. Tell us what you think of my plan. Anybody who's forced to vote on constitutional carry and doesn't support the law-abiding gun owners, we should have photographs of those people on the wall with a fake mustache.
Yeah.
What do we do if somebody already has a mustache, though? That's a little bit of a problem, right?
We'll give it some big handlebars or something.
Okay. Well, just exaggerate the mustache.
Oh, you could give him an afro.
Right.
Just,
Give them they get
or some Elvis hair.
They get some kind of. They get a mohawk. They get a mohawk.
Right. There you go.
Are we allowed to say that? That mohawk isn't bad, right?
No,
Is
mohawk's
that like
good.
Some kind of cultural appropriation. I feel. I feel
Wait,
like
what?
everyone's so careful what you say these days.
What culture is it
I wanted a
appropriating? I
mohawk.
thought it
I
was
never had
something
one,
that
though.
skaters get.
Yeah.
Like the only place I've ever seen an actual mohawk was on a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. Like when you create a skater, you can give him like a mohawk and then just change it to any color you want.
I thought you had one, Russ.
Oh yeah, I have it. It's right next to my afro, my Elvis hair.
There you go.
We'll have to give you a mohawk.
I have a mohawk wig.
We'll do it live on the air. We'll be down.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
I'll save it and we'll do it live.
Oh man.
There
For
we
those of
go.
us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So, Philly Chris, this has been a week where you have been in all of your glory. I think we should call this episode on all of the platforms Guns and UFOs. What do you think?
I like it.
I think
Let's
that should
do
be
it.
the name of the episode.
It's
Guns,
a great combination.
ATF, aliens, UFOs.
Right.
And I have not done a ton of digging into this, but every time I see one of these stories pop up, I say, oh, this is right up Philly Chris's alley. I'm sure I will hear about it. I don't call you about it because I want you to save it for the air.
Sounds good.
I've known
Right.
you for a long time, and if I let you go with that on the phone, I'll be there for about 90 minutes, and then you'll have wasted it. You'll have wasted radio gold and won't be able to share it with all of our listeners.
Well, we'll do it live then.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
So what have you got on tap for us today with respect to the UFOs? And don't tell me nothing because I will throw you right off the program.
No, I don't have anything this time.
I can't
No,
get this guy to
it's,
shut up about the UFOs for the last 5-6 years.
Right. Well, the reason I did mention it several times over the past year on the program is that it did appear that there were a lot of indicators pointing to some more disclosure this year, which is where we basically are now. It'd be interesting to see what happens next month. I believe the deadline is June 25th, but there's some rumors that they may release some information earlier regarding this, the UFO phenomena and what's been released. But just in the past several weeks, there's been quite a few mainstream programs, 60 Minutes, Fox, CNN, all the major networks, talking more about it and sharing some of the most recent videos that have been released. So, but it's a pretty big story. I mean, in my opinion, it's going to be one of the biggest stories of the year, if not of our lifetime, especially, if there is more to it than these craft being possessed by our government or a foreign government. And I'm not saying that is the case. We don't know yet. But it's a matter of, national defense, most importantly. If these things are not ours and they're showing up over military ships, the Navy seeing them, hovering over them basically for hours on end. They're coming from outer space, traveling through the atmosphere, and then going into the ocean. And our nuclear subs are seeing them traveling at several hundred miles an hour underwater. So the technology that exists in these crafts is defying the laws of physics that we would have all been taught, in school, and even the most advanced scientists that are working over in CERN at the particle accelerator and things of that nature. So, looking into this, they do seem to possess some sort of gravitational propulsion system. And a big thing there, part of the reason I mentioned this, is it would change the way we're living in a positive way if that technology was used properly. Because talk about the Green New Deal, all these people on the left want to get rid of coal and oil and things of that nature. But
and
if you
cows,
have
no,
right, cows, yeah, meat and all that, right, yeah. So if you had a fusion reactor, let's say, that could generate enough electricity for an entire city, and it could fit in something the size of a car, that gives you the ability to control gravity. That's pretty amazing. So hopefully our government has it. Dr. Greer, I mentioned him recently, I think last week on the show and months back as well. He's got a new documentary coming out next month as well, to go further into reports from folks that have worked at the government that have come out to acknowledge these dark projects. And, he's warning everybody. I don't know if he's right or what's propaganda or what's not, but he's claiming that our government may use the technology against the populace in some way to fake some sort of, alien invasion or something. So I don't know. That sounds pretty out there, but past presidents have warned us about our military-industrial complex and what they're capable of. So if some groups have gone rogue, which is a possibility, and possess this technology, and then I guess we'll see where it goes. So, going to make COVID look
and who
like,
is this?
nothing.
Who is this that made these claims?
Dr. Greer. He was a well-known surgeon in an emergency room, I believe, and he's a real doctor, and he had an experience in, I believe, North Carolina, down in the mountains, where he had an experience with a craft, and after that he researching it, and he's had quite a few folks in the government come to, sharing information with him. Some of them have come out now, but he's been doing this for 25, 30 years, I think.
His Wikipedia says Stephen Greer is an American UFOologist who founded the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence and the Disclosure Project is what it's called.
Yeah, he did unacknowledged.
Is this guy? This guy is best of friends with Dr. Snakes Wilson.
They go way back. I think they went to college together.
Who earned his PhD in snakeology from the University of Mumbai.
Right, exactly.
Come on, Chris. As I know that you're very much into this stuff. I'm not saying that there's no validity, but that first sentence of his profile, doesn't that sound an awful lot like Dr. Snakes?
It's pretty much exactly the same, but substantially different or whatever.
It's substantially identical. That's New Jersey. New Jersey's definition of assault weapon at one point. It's substantially identical. It's like, hold on a second. Substantial means what? Mostly, right?
Yeah. Almost there, right? Yeah.
And identical means what? Exactly the same, right?
Exactly the same, but sometimes different.
So it's mostly exactly the same.
Right.
That sounds like something a 4-year-old saying. We're like, oh no, I don't think you're understanding the meaning of the words.
The lawmakers were probably at home asking their kids, what should I say here? Substantially identical. Just make the law so ridiculous you can't understand it.
Oh man. Or intentionally vague.
UFOologist who founded the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So he was a physician.
Yes.
Says he was trained as a transcendental meditation teacher and served as director of a meditation organization. BS from Appalachian State and MD. So no dummy.
No, and
but he didn't work for. So some of these other guys.
Yeah, like Luis Elizondo has come out.
Like Bob Lazar, I've heard about from various podcasts and stuff like that. But he worked for the government, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty much it's been shown now, and people have come out to support his claims that he worked at the S4 section of Area 51. And, they brought him in based on what he shared in his interviews. to reverse engineer a gravitational propulsion system in craft. Apparently, they had, I think, about 9 craft there that he saw, and he was working on one of them to reverse engineer the propulsion system. They're trying to figure out how the reactor worked, and didn't have any wiring or anything connected inside. They believe now that's where 3D printing may have come from, because everything was probably printed as one. So, but a lot of the things he said that the government, of course, came out saying that he wasn't telling the truth about, and he was making stuff up. Several of those things have come to fruition now. And also, it's
Like what? So
video.
I let me explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, right?
Okay, sure.
Because
so
I don't know anything about this stuff.
It's
So you're saying a
mostly
lot of the stuff has
identical.
come to fruition. So
yeah,
so
well, he talked about. I'll give you one example. Something that came out in the past few years when they quizzed him about work environment scanner that was needed to get an area to the S4 section of the range.
hold on,
Basically,
hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Russ, was
Yeah.
he breaking up
Yeah,
seriously
he
for a couple
was,
of
and
seconds?
I think it
Okay.
might be the aliens trying to
They're
jam
like,
the
no,
transmission.
don't tell him, Chris. Don't tell him, Chris. So I didn't hear a thing that you said, unfortunately. And I don't,
All right.
I know, I didn't want to just play it off and be like, oh, okay, fascinating for the kids. Good
Sure.
job.
Yeah,
I want to
thanks.
hear what you're saying. I'm interested in
If it
hearing
doesn't
this.
work
So-
a second
thank you.
time, just text it to us. I'll read it.
Yeah, there we go. Is it better now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Yeah, I know you
one of
didn't do anything. You didn't do anything to make it better.
Yeah. I fixed it.
I mean, honestly, guys, my internet connection is kind of a potato right now. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Oh, so it might be you.
It's probably on your end.
No,
then.
I
It's your
don't.
fault.
I don't know if it's on my end, because I think the way it works, I would be the one having trouble hearing Chris, but right now he's probably frozen for both of us. Oh no, he just
Can you
wasn't
hear me
blinking.
now? Should I turn my video off?
I don't know.
And you're gonna have to cut this out of the aired show tomorrow morning.
Well, I
People are
think it's
gonna
funny.
be driving into work like, what is up with these knuckleheads?
Yeah, well,
any better
anytime
if I
Chris
turn the
goes to
video off?
talk
Can you hear me
about
better?
aliens, they jam the transmission. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what's going on. Yeah.
All right. So
Well, we must be
so
onto
once
something.
again, explain to me. Let's try that again.
Well,
So-
there's some things that I do find intriguing about his claims and his story. One of them was he describes very accurately how you get to Area 51. And at the time when he came out back in 1989, I believe it was, there wasn't much known about Area 51. It really wasn't on the map. It was still highly classified. But there's Janet Airlines leaves out of Vegas, and they're government planes. They have these big red stripes on the side of them, and they would fly the employees out to Area 51, and then they would go to their respective work areas, and he would go to the S4 section. So that whole process he described with accuracy. But to get into the S4 section, you had to put your hand in a machine that literally could read the bones inside of your hand, and this was back in the 80s, and the government denied that. But in the past couple of years, the more recent documentaries that came out, they found information regarding the patents and actually images of those, and they showed them to him. So that was some verification and validation. Also, he's got a pretty good, background with science and has his own company now and was known.
No,
in the area
no.
for working at-
You're not getting off the hook and talking about why
Okay.
he's a respectable individual. I want to know what he's said that has come to fruition. So he knew where Area 51 was, and he knew that you need
Yes.
phone scans in order to get in.
Mhm. Yeah, he described how he would go in and put his hand in the scanner, and then that would be part of the security checkpoint. So, just in the past couple of years, those machines have now come out into the public domain, so they exist. Back then they said, "Oh, that's crazy. Nobody has that. That's too advanced technology." Well, they did. There, you can find it on the internet. It was in one of the more recent documentaries there. Also, the way he describes that the craft operate, and if you look at some of these videos, especially the one where the pilots are so perplexed that the craft is rotating. It's actually rotating about its axis while still holding its position in high winds, and then it accelerates in thousands of Gs, which is not possible based on the physics that we've all been taught. So also there's video evidence. He went out to, part of the reason they cracked down on him is he brought some civilians out to the test range because he knew when the craft were going to be tested, and they were able to videotape some of those craft moving around in the sky back in the 80s, and he knew the test schedule and where they would be, and they actually were able to see them, and there's video evidence of that. And just the physics.
Can you pull that right up, or can we watch that?
It's out there somewhere. It's in one of the documentaries. I don't know if it's on YouTube or not, but yeah, we could try to find that and maybe play it in the future. And then one of the biggest things is he talked about element 115, which at the time wasn't even on the periodic table. So he was talking about the element that was used inside the reactor, basically a fusion reactor inside these crafts, that used element 115, which is so pure that it's incredibly efficient, doesn't really have any loss, which is how they're able to generate so much energy to power up the gravitational accelerators, basically, that control the gravitational field. They amplify the gravitational field. So that's pretty fascinating because he talked about it. It wasn't even on the periodic table, and just in the past 2 years, scientists have come out confirming that that is an element that exists in the universe, and they've even made some of it. It's difficult to keep it stable, but they're working on that now. So, and again, these are things that are so far off in the future technologically that, either somebody here on Earth has this stuff and they're way ahead, or his story that he shares with the world about reverse engineering extraterrestrial craft, and there's other people who have come out to back those claims. Now from the government. We talked on the show about that Israeli defense minister who on his deathbed came out even talking about a treaty. So who knows? Is this stuff propaganda or is it the truth? And, we know that our government and other governments have been withholding information about these things for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see where it's going now. But also it's kind of intriguing that this is happening now during a pandemic and all the political unrest around the globe, that they're now bringing up this UFO topic, and where are they going to go with it? So is Dr. Greer right? They're going to maybe use it against humanity to control humanity and keep people away from these, this technology. It also means if our government had this stuff all this time, then we've been living in the past. Essentially, we've been held back. So and that's a shame. If we are messing up the earth and making it dirty, and all these carbon oil and coal and gas and things we're burning, we didn't need to do that for a very long period of time. And also, we could have done things much more efficiently and probably had more peaceful times here on Earth and shared technology that would bring us together and not push us further apart.
Do you think there's a possibility that there have been motors that have been brought out or put together in the past and have been suppressed for financial gains, so to speak? You always hear like stories and rumors that there was a guy who built some motor that could run on water, and they destroyed it and they killed the guy, and it's just an example of stuff that you sort of hear out there. Is that possible? Because based on what you're saying, the suppression of technology, or at least unavailability to the public to sort of maintain control.
That's right.
Do you think that sort of thing would be possible?
Yeah, there's definitely been reports of that, and I'm aware of technology that was repressed some time ago that I have firsthand knowledge of. Maybe at some point I'll talk about that more openly on the show, but I've seen it with my own eyes. Where there was technology that was way ahead of its time, and because of the impact it would have on the current status quo and the systems in place, especially the oil industry, it was basically classified, and the government took it for themselves for their own use, in the military and things of that nature, only to release it later. So, and if you look at the aircraft and other things that our government has had for a long time, some of it makes sense when you're talking about defense, technology, but there's also, I think, a limit to how long you would suppress something like that. And when it could have such positive benefits on humanity, basically, then I think it's a crime against humanity, in my opinion. So, yes, that does happen. And there's a lot of reports about that. And some of those people who claim they have made, free energy devices and things of that nature, supposedly have been told no, that they can't, tinker around in that area anymore. And there's stories about Tesla himself stumbling upon the ability to transmit electricity wirelessly, and you can do that. It's very possible to do that. And he was so far ahead of his time that I do believe the government, put him in his place, and his trunks and data, sets research went missing at one point, and he didn't get a lot of recognition he deserves. I think that's why Elon Musk named the car company after him. So, yeah, that's pretty fascinating stuff, in my opinion. And I think right now, with everything going on in the world, it's something we should be paying attention to, and we'll see where it goes. Keep an eye on what's real, what the truth is, and what's propaganda, and how they're going to manipulate all of that.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So, Chris, when it comes down to it, there were parts of the COVID relief bill Trump signed right before leaving office that had disclosure periods, right?
That's right.
For some of this stuff. So
that's right. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you think is going to come out in the near future that we don't know about?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some additional videos released, and they're saying that they have much higher resolution, more detailed information, and of course, now that the other pilots have been allowed to come out publicly, our fighter jet pilots are seeing these things every day. During that 60 Minutes interview, he said he saw them every day for 2 years. So this isn't like a rare thing that's been going on. And
wasn't that
historically,
woman? Did we watch that together? Where there was a woman who said that she didn't want to say anything about it when she came back because she didn't want people to think she was nuts, and they kind of
she said if she was alone, that she probably would have never gone public. That was Commander Fravers. Wing woman, I guess you'd call her, or wingman. But yeah, she
the wing person.
The wing person.
Wing gender.
She had her own jet too, and she was flying off his wing. Right. But
like fighter pilot. You just picture some 40 guys thinking she's the stewardess or something, right? Oh, God.
Exactly.
Now, Russ, you were saying that you had checked out this documentary.
Our top.
Russ, you were saying that you had checked out a documentary on this fairly recently as well, didn't you?
Well, I don't know if I would call it a documentary. Well, I was at Walmart, okay, and I was in the DVD section looking for things to buy because DVDs are nice to have. And I came across this 3-disc collection of this show called Ancient Aliens from the History Channel. This is season 13. They've been going since, I don't know, 2008 or 9 or maybe 10. I don't know how their seasons work. But it's season 13 of this. And I wouldn't call it a documentary because everything that the narrator says is not, it's posed as a question. Nothing is in the affirmative. And
Gotcha.
this makes me think that either they're trying to just leave it as questionable as possible, or they're not allowed to confirm or deny anything, because the way that these are posed are, could this be evidence of blah, 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 blah? Or does this suggest that blah, 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 blah? And the only stuff that's said in the affirmative is the stuff that is absolute. So they found these pieces of this craft from Roswell, buried in the sand. It was a small piece that the government didn't keep. Or I guess they missed, because back in the 40s, I guess they didn't have great technology to detect little metal fragments, or they thought nobody would find it. Either way, when it was analyzed, it had layers of material that were microns thick. And did you want a whole background on this documentary?
No, it's kind of general overview.
How many microns?
Because you had said, I think what you just said was interesting. I was going to pop in, and you sounded like
I was getting to a larger point.
Well, here's my question for you. You're saying that you don't think that they're allowed to say anything in the affirmative. Why
No.
would that be?
I
Just
think
because they don't have enough evidence to claim it as true, or
no, because we have. So, I believe UFOs are definitely real. They're unidentified flying objects. If an object is flying and you don't know what it is, it's an unidentified because you don't know its identification, flying
Right.
because it's flying object. So,
right?
there's all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be a flying saucer. But I don't think they're allowed to say anything in the affirmative because I think there's a treaty, an intergalactic something or other, some kind of NDA, a non-disclosure agreement where they say, hey,
Be careful what you
you
say.
can exist, you can be on our planet and in our airspace, but don't mess with us. And we won't we won't say that you exist. We won't confirm or deny it. And anybody who discovers that you actually do exist will be shot on sight.
Right.
Well, that's funny though, because if they're not allowed to disclose the existence, but they're allowed to discuss it in such a way that poses questions and uses qualifying phrases like allegedly, I'd say that's a pretty poor non-disclosure agreement. So
Well,
maybe those alien attorneys got ripped off, right?
Yeah. Well, I think
they figured out as an alien attorney, he'd be a smart guy. They got the guy who graduated last in law school. They got the dumbest alien attorney on the planet.
Right.
well, there was also
So, how much experience do you have working with aliens? Yeah.
yeah.
So, but Chris, you had mentioned this. You said there was some kind of government official in Israel who came out and said that there was some kind of a contract with
That's right.
extraterrestrials, right?
That's right. And other folks have made the same claim. I think he was the defense minister, right? Let me see if I can find it here on defense minister. And yeah, and he was on his deathbed basically, and I guess he wanted to clear his conscience from what he said. Yeah, Israeli general says aliens exist and have agreement with U.S. Former Israeli space chief says U.S. is in contact with Galactic Federation of Aliens, and Trump knows. So yeah, there you go.
And Trump knows.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Chaim Eshed, 87, former director of space programs for the Israel Ministry of Defense for nearly 30 years, said the U.S. and Israel have been in contact with alien life forms representing Galactic Federation, and President Donald Trump knows about it.
Do you think Trump is pro more people knowing about this? Is that why he signed that into, got obviously somebody.
A lot of people were saying that they thought Trump was going to open humanity up to this. So that people claim too that the deep state has been going after him and tried to basically nar for door or whatever the voting there and all that to get him out. So who knows? So there's possibly more to this, and maybe this is really what's going on here. And I don't know, is humanity ready for something like that? I think the truth is always better than keeping things like that hidden. There's a lot of historical documents going back, not just decades, centuries. And other countries are a little bit more open-minded about these things. Their governments are not necessarily hiding what they've come across. So, but for some reason here, that seems to be the case.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
for those of us just tuning in, you're listening to The Alien Show.
Nanu. But it's interesting, this Louis Elizondo, who ran the ATIP program, which was basically the program in our government that was all of these. He wrote like a something page report, I think, against the government. He got upset because he realized how much was being held back. So that's why apparently he's gone public. However, Dr. Greer is claiming that maybe he's part of the whole propaganda that's trying to set this up to show that there's some sort of threat here. Dr. Greer's position is that they're actually here overseeing us and trying to protect us because we now have nukes and we're about to destroy ourselves or the planet, and we've been acting badly like bad children in a way with technology that's too advanced for us. So what is real there, I don't know. Although TR3 be in minutes and take a flight after the show. Not supposed to talk about that.
So Russ, I did cut you off.
Yes.
You said you had a bigger point, but you were, let's just say, taking the scenic route to getting there.
Well, I already made my point, but
why do we punch into the GPS? Let's punch in shortest time. What do you say?
okay. Well, I already made my point. I brought up the whole thing with I think there's an NDA of some kind where, you know, anybody who discovers something big and absolute gets taken out. But I did want to share the video that I told you guys about of, if you don't mind me taking over the show here, Mike. By the way, you're fired. We're still going to call it Mike G in the morning.
Russ O in the morning.
Yeah. But I did want to share this because I thought it was really interesting. I'm gonna switch to this. This was something I caught on February 21st this year. These two lights in there's a forested area behind where I live, behind the neighbor's house, across the street, and there were these two lights that were just blasting. It looked like maybe rockets. The camera doesn't really do it justice, but I'll play this here. And so I zoom in on these. They look like, you know, maybe it could be airplanes, but there's no noise. There's nothing really here, and it was a really clear night, I think.
When was this from?
This was February 21st.
You're telling me
2020.
breaking news? We have like legit UFO footage from Russ?
I don't know if it's UFOs, but if it is, then it looks like.
Well, you don't know what it is.
Well, it looks
right?
like they're drag racing, is what it looks like.
They're clearly unidentified. So this is in the sky by your house?
Yeah. And I mean,
well, that is not.
I mean,
They look like. Did they go out after a few minutes? Did they?
No, they
disappear
didn't
after
go
a few
out.
minutes?
I do a spin at one point, so they're gonna move real fast.
They're sky lanterns.
Well, I don't know, because the moon does come into focus at some point. When does this? Hang on. But I do a spin around because they go like right above, like right overhead. It looks like one of them disappeared, perhaps. But yeah, there's the moon there.
Okay.
And you can kind of see how fast they're traveling. It's really zoomed in. There we go. There's a zoom out. But yeah, that's when I spun around, I think.
Interesting.
But like, it's an unidentified flying object.
Well, Chris, can you identify it? Can you say?
It looks
To
like
a
maybe there's a
reasonable
third
degree of
one. I think
certainty.
there's
It
a
looks a
third
little
one.
bit like I've seen people capture videos of those sky lanterns that you put the light on fire inside and they inflate and they go up and then they burn out in a few minutes and then just fall back down. It kind of looks like those, but it is sort of intriguing.
Well,
How long
Did
do
they
they
change direction
that's-
or did they just kind of go to the same direction the whole time, Russ?
I think they just went the same direction. There was a part where they did like a quick spin. That was just me spinning around. That wasn't like a super fast movement or anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
That was just me trying not to break my back, bending over, trying to, you know, trying to capture this. But yeah, if that's what it is, then it's no longer unidentified. It's just a flying object or a foe.
You should send that into MUFON. There's a website called MUFON where they do all the tracking and investigation of anything unidentified. So they might be able to answer your question. We'll have to send it in. Yeah, MUFON, MUFON. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if
UFON.
You got it. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there something called MoveOn.org?
I think there was. Yeah.
Wasn't there? I feel like there's some kind of leftist political. Yeah, championing. I just pulled up championing progressive values. Whether it's supporting a candidate, fighting to pass legislation, or working to change our culture, Move On members are committed to an inclusive and progressive future. We envision a world marked by equality, sustainability, justice, love, and aliens. No. MUFON. You said MUFON?
Yeah, MUFON.
.com?
Yes.
.org?
Yeah, it should be .com, I think. Let me check.
Mutual UFO Network.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, that's where the there's quite a few
I think
ufologists.
you should make the submission. There's a lot of UFO. What are they called? How do you pronounce that?
Ufologists, yes.
UFologist?
Yep, all volunteer, nonprofit, 501c3 charitable corporation, the world's oldest and largest civilian UFO investigation and research organization. They've got some interesting stuff on there.
Snakeologist.
So if anyone's interested in learning more, you can go to MUFON.com. Tell them Mike G sent you.
Be sure and tell them Mike G sent you.
Or in this case, you can tell them Philly Chris sent you.
Please don't tell them Mike G sent you. Tell them Chris sent you. Whatever you do, I had nothing to do with it. Man, that guy's lost his marbles.
But there, also the reports are on the rise. People are seeing things quite a bit more. It's in the news more as I thought it would be earlier in the year. I thought we were going to get to this point where we are now. So, and I think it's going to continue to ramp up. So, be interesting to see what they say next month, what our government has to say about it, and whether or not they're going to actually release, real evidence and details about it, or a new cover-up story, which is essentially what they've been doing since Roswell.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to feed us a bunch of BS again and be like,
Probably.
Hey, all that stuff that you think you know, it's all real, but this, that, the other thing, blah, blah, blah. And they're just going to lead us in a completely different direction and then treat us like we're all crazy again.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. It's very dismal.
So I guess we will see what happens, right?
We'll keep an eye on it.
Are we past, we into the rogue hours, Russ?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. I believe that we are coming close to wrapping it up. So, do we have any other words for the good of the order?
No.
I think I'm okay. Yeah.
No.
We're ending it on UFOs.
We're gonna end it on UFOs. Maybe we'll have some kind of a Memorial Day weekend live stream at some point. I know Russ is gonna be like, "You volunteer me to work. Shut up." I don't work on the weekend or Saturdays. Or,
I'm watching SpongeBob.
I don't work before 11 a.m. or after. I work specifically on Wednesdays between the hours of 11 and 11:30.
Well, here's what I can do. I can give you this coupon. All right, it's valid Tuesday through Sunday, but we're not open on Monday.
Very good, very good. But I think that might be a good idea. We want to recognize everybody who served and recognize the importance of Memorial Day.
Yes.
And somebody said to me that saying Happy Cinco de Mayo is the equivalent of saying something like Happy Pearl Harbor Day. You're not really supposed to say that because that's what I was told. I've got to. I should probably look deeper into that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Happy Star Wars
I always
Day.
feel bad on Memorial. Like Happy Memorial. It's not a happy thing.
Right. Exactly.
You're remembering those who paid that price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ultimate
And we're
sacrifice.
very, very thankful for those who served and preserved our constitutional rights. So thank you to everybody who served.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we'll be able to do something along the weekend and get some kind of live stream for Memorial Day.
Sure.
Anybody who wants to join in, we'll call it like the Mike G in the morning live stream barbecue or something like that.
There we go. Nice.
And have people, if whoever wants to join in, just let us know and we'll get you on, kind of like we did during Christmas and New Year's. So
right.
If you're listening to the program right now and you want to be a part of whatever we do for the Memorial Day weekend live stream, let us know. Write in, tell us you want to be on the program. We'll get you on the program. Doesn't matter who you are, what you want to talk about. This is the free and open exchange of thoughts and ideas. Do you have anything further, Russ?
Yeah, if you're going to call it a barbecue, you need to have a barbecue or else I'm not showing up.
Nice. Nice.
laying
Too
down
bad
the
we
law.
can't do it at the North Pole, right? Get the hot
Yeah.
dog.
You know what?
Great.
I'll hitch a flying saucer ride and be there immediately
Perfect.
with their gravity
I'll pick you up
propulsion
in my
time traveling
TR3B,
system.
Russ.
Sounds good to me. All right, I will close us out. What does that mean to play us out?
What does that mean? Too much.
That's all the time we've got for today. Stick around for We the People, The Constitution Matters, Pastor David Whitney, and Professor Phil Duffy. We miss you, Ellie.